Alright, gonna record a quick, probably not so quick video going over the Dustforce IL rankings on Dustkid.com. Shoutouts first of all to Average Trey for reminding me to make this video. So first of all, this is Dustkid.com. It is where the main Dustforce IL rankings are kind of handled. It has a bunch of other features. Two important things to start with first. First of all is in the game Dustforce, you have the normal leaderboards that'll pop up on an IL or something, and you have the two main categories of best score, which can be thought of as SS. You'll frequently see noted on like YouTube uploads or whatever else, or full game runs, or it's just also known kind of as 100%. It's the equivalent of 100% for Dustforce. And then best time, which is the equivalent of any percent, basically. And so these are the two ILs. You have all the levels in a list here, or whatever. You can go to the next level, sort by everything here, and then of course it has your ranking. It has the score you got, player name, everything else. You can sort by friends in the game. You can watch the replay. So of Fishy's world record replay on Observatory, for example, I can click watch replay, and then this will play back all in the game for me. It's kind of like a save state almost of a replay file of the inputs, and this works for everybody, baseline, in the game or whatever, for all of time. This isn't anything special. This is how the base game operates, is that it'll record your personal best time for everybody that has ever played the game for the two main categories for each and every level, like this. And so that is how the normal rankings work for IELTS. But if you download DustMod, which is made by MSG555, who is kind of the site runner and our savior, you can click this DustMod link here, open it up in a new tab or whatever, and this has a site that shows you some of the features or whatever. It has Dust installation instructions. Wow, and you can download from here and stuff like that, and join the Discord. Do that if you're playing Dustforce. Discord is the place to be. So, why do we need DustMod? So, as I mentioned, in the actual baseline game, it records your personal best for these two main categories. These four buttons here, technically it's 5 buttons, these do not exist. Also, you can scroll down or whatever and see rankings past just the top 10, and it also shows the people around your rank, shows the number of people that have played the level, your rank out of them, etc. And then obviously the times. Dustforce runs at 60 FPS, so the rounding is kind of weird on some of the times, but basically a 16/17, sometimes it's like 15 and 18 or 19. It's weird, like I said, the rounding. But generally a 16 millisecond gap, like the time from 6th to 5th here, is a 1 frame difference in time. So that's the way you can kind of think about that. So, a couple of the inherent problems of that Dustkid seeks to fix. For one, this is only your personal best. So for example, my personal best here is with Dustforce, and it's, a 20.7 time or whatever. But the community especially wanted to track other characters. So this is a DustMod feature, is that I can sort by Dustman, for example, and you will see now, even though my PB was not a Dustforce or a Dustman replay, is that these are also all tracked, and this is a feature of DustMod, is that this all tracks it or whatever. You can see Falling Lotus, for example, has the rank 2 Dustman here, and I don't know where Falling Lotus is. Well, he probably won't be here because he's a Dustman only player, but that's part of the appeal of this, was for the singular character mains and stuff like that, was that they got their own rankings and their own points associated from that and things like that. And that works the same for best time as well. So you can sort these by character, so you have character individual leaderboards and tracking and things like that, even though they wouldn't save in the normal game as your PB, because they wouldn't beat your PB in this case. Is that those will still save and be recorded and have their own rankings tracked and everything on Dustkid.com. And if you have DustMod installed, obviously you can pull up those boards in the baseline game themselves. And also the DustMod allows you to track some certain like offshoot categories. So for example, this is the jumping icon, and so this is the like A button challenge of jumping. So for example, it doesn't show the jump counter, but I can look at this later on the Dustkid.com site and pull up how many jumps these were. So these are tracked from least jumps to most jumps. And then this is the same thing for dashes. We'll probably see No Dash Joe up here somewhere. And then of course you have Apple, which is a great meme category. And then this is taking forever to load. Okay, we don't see him there. And then this is for the tool-assisted runs, this computer terminal. icon. So this will pull up the tool-assisted replay set. And so here we can watch the tool-assisted IL run in the game as like its own replay file individually. We don't have to go find it on a YouTube video that we uploaded for the full game tool-assisted run that we put out as a community. So again, super handy for practicing or just trying to find new strats or look at what the optimal strats would be. You can see that's a 14.4 flat basically second time there, and it's obviously going to be much faster than the 16.5 second RTA world record. So the other main thing to note is that these replays are from Dustforce DX, and they are also from Dustforce came out in January of, I believe, 2012. And so about 5 months into the game being released, the leaderboards were all wiped. There were a couple bugs on some of the SS score tracking and stuff like that, where you could get the SS rank without the SS. This left column is completion. This is basically collecting all the dust and killing all the enemies within a level. And then the other second column here is finesse, which is sort of as the combo drop counter, where to get an S rank, you have to not drop the combo through the entire level. And then lower ranks are if you've dropped it once, twice, 3 times, and then I think 4 or 5 plus for the A through D rankings. And then DD is like the worst rank that you can get on a level. And so you'll see some of these don't collect very much dust, but again, it's only sorting these by time. This doesn't care about the ranking you get. Stuff like that. So these leaderboards are all tracking after those first 5 months. So the first 5 months, unfortunately, are kind of lost to time, but everything past that has been tracked in the game. In the baseline game, if you've ever played Dustforce, you are on these leaderboards, your replays are there, it's great. There's a couple exceptions. So the level wiring in lab had its leaderboard reset on Dustforce DX coming out because it still had the past bug that wasn't ever fixed until the Dustforce DX update, which also added a few new levels. So from those levels only have history from when they existed. They don't have history from the start of the game because they didn't exist in the game at that point. So back to the website. This is the homepage of dustkid.com. You'll see here, this is just kind of the baseline page that you'll come into. Here we have a link to the Dustforce subreddit. You've got a link to the custom map app list. Those are external links and things like that. This main page, first you have the character rank in score and time and things like that, and the rank score and time. So this is just showing you kind of the level of the replays that are coming in. You can see this is updating live now. This is just the most recent, and this will keep updating. So we just saw another one come in at the top here, and I believe this is the number of total replays in the database total ever. So you can see somebody else here is grinding combat tutorial. They're probably a newer player. They're not getting a very good rank, not getting SS, and not getting a very good time. Whatever. Sorry to call them out like that, but you can see TMC here is working on the Dustkid daily, which we can look at later. So a couple other levels are being grinded by certain other people, some of them getting some pretty good ranks on that. So if we want to get off this main site homepage thing here, the main thing to go look at would be the standard map records here and the rankings. So I'll open these two up in 2 different tabs, and these are probably the 2 main pages that you would be coming to look at Dustkid for. So this is the world records page. This has every world record on the left side column here, the left side of my mouse going up and down here. That is all for scores. This is all the SS times, and you can see it goes up to the difficults here. And then we have the other levels. This is the old tutorial. This is Infinity difficult, which is a secret level. And then here are kind of, they're community made maps, but they're of the entire hubs and stuff like that, that people have made that are also tracked on this page because they are made basically of the standard levels. And on the right side we have best time, also known as any percent, and those are also tracked here. So for the tutorials here, these can only be played with Dustman. You do not get a character choice. So for example, if we were to sort by Dustkid, who is the purple character here, and we wanted to see the world records for Dustkid on all the levels, you would see the tutorials are no longer above the forest here. And instead we have all the Dustkid world records. And so a couple of neat things is if I look back to the general all 4 characters here, it does take a little while to load. So we can do a couple different things here. First, we can click on the level itself, and this will pop up similarly to the leaderboards that we pulled up in game, except obviously this will pull up, a lot more further down, and you can even go to the next page of this and sort for the next 50 down from 51 to 100. And it'll also show the most recent 10 replays that were on this level, what the ranks were, how long ago they happened, things like that. So here we not only see what the player name was, what character they used, the position, things like that, their score and time, of course. We can also see how long ago they got the replay. So some of these are going to be extremely old, and some of these are going to be relatively new. And then same thing for time. If this was an Atlas map, which is a custom map, you could install it from here. You can compare, open up a comparison of the top 5 replays, for example, and this will show a little overlay going in through the level of showing the people's paths they took. This down here has all their X and Y position and speed data. It has their inputs being displayed live here as this is going through, and of course you can pause this, you can rewind it, go back to the beginning, you can go plus or minus 1 frame or increase the speed through a couple different things like that, and so this is combining the top 5 replays on this, and so you can compare where am I losing time versus, I'm number 2 trying to get number 1. Where am I losing time in comparison to him? Or am I gaining time in comparison to him? This is very good. You can manually do this by comparing your own replays. So you can compare strats to other strats this way and see which one maybe overall saves time in which places and things like that. So that's a very neat feature. You can also see history. So I can open this up and this will show the history of for example, the first 100 people to get SS on the level, and then the progression of the world record IL of this level. So we can see the first times were just as the level was released or whatever, and very quickly, after about 56 months, it dropped down to about a 40-second time, and then from there it's been kind of a slow drop from there. Kind of had a long pause in the development of it, and then you can see very recently in the past 2 months it's had kind of a significant breakthrough, and another like 2 or 3 seconds has been shaved off here. And then any percent, same thing. Any percent is generally optimized a lot quicker just because of the nature of it. It has less kind of moving parts, less things that you kind of have to keep track of at once, because you're just basically going for time. You're not going for time in addition to collecting all the dust and routing and things like that. That the dust routing and super routing and things like that can be a lot trickier to wrap your whole head around and find the truly best strat for things like that. These other buttons here are also sorting by 2-player, 3-player, and 4-player. These aren't really used very much, so they won't have very many runs on them, but those do technically exist for sorting this also. And then of course you can sort this again by the apple, the task replays, or no jump, no dash, no jump, no attacks, no directional inputs, and then a couple other silly meme categories and things like that we can see this is still sorting by the latest replays on the level in general, not the tool-assisted replays. So, also on this is that we can click on, for example, Fishy, and we can click and it will open up his player profile from here. This will also take a second. And so here we can see on Fishy's profile, we can see his individual personal bests on all the levels, and this has the same sorting as the records page that we saw, and it also sorts, you can see some other additional information at the bottom here, so we can see his top 5 best ILs by rank, both for score and time. We can see his worst, so these would be ones that he's maybe looking to improve in order to increase his rank the most. We can see the best and worst by time, his newest and oldest ones, so if these are old and new strats have come out, or he just needs to get around to updating these or whatever, these could also be ones that he looks towards improving and playing recently. You can see his number of top 10s, his number of world records, his total recorded playtime. Some of these are question marks or whatever because they lack some replays. You can see his 10 latest replays, what levels was he playing, what ranks was he getting. You can see the full game runs. These are also tracked via auto splitters. Because all of your replays or all of your individual levels are submitted to the site, you can track full game runs quite easily on the site just by seeing, oh, this person literally did all 75 ILs in a row in an hour. That's probably a full game run, and I can time the time from the first one to the last one to see what their full game run time was. These aren't 100% accurate. They are a little bit inaccurate just due to the nature of replay submitting and stuff, but you can at least get a pretty decent like ballpark time with these on what your full game runs are if you don't feel like using splits and stuff like that. That was kind of a feature from before an auto splitter got made. Nowadays we have an auto splitter. And we can also sort for what are his PBs using only Dust Scroll. And so we can sort that and use the same sorting features as we have on the levels on his personal bests as well. So cool features there. And now the big thing we've all been waiting for. I'm sorry this took 15 minutes into the video to get to, the rankings. So these are the Dustkid.com rankings. These are kind of thought of as the holy grail rankings in Dustforce, that these are the ones that determine whatever, your standing or something. So if you want to call yourself like a top 100 any percent player, this is basically what you're basing it off of. So how do these rankings work? So they are kind of identical to how they behave in the base game, and then you are given points based on that. There's a couple kind of additional rules to know. So for example, if I go back to the records page here, and then I'm going to go to construction site any percent, because it's probably the best thing for demonstrating this, is certain levels will have frame ties. Construction site any percent is going to be the most famous for this. This has not a full 50 people, and we'll wait for it to load here. Not a full 100 people, but it has over 100 people all tied at 0.0983. That is the frame tie. Let's see how many people it's up to now. Oh, it's over 150 people. Okay, that's news to me. This is as of 1 month ago. Okay, we are at 152 people as of making this video that are frame tied on this level. So, what happens in this case? Well, so the way the rankings work is if you are first, you will get 0 points for that level. And so this is the score rankings, this is the time rankings, and then overall combines the score plus time rankings, basically. So Fishy has 64 score points, he has 60 time points, so he has 124 overall points. That's fairly basic to understand. And then this is his total times added up for those levels. So for example, if you improve, or if you're, for example, Ditto here at 153rd place on construction site 80%, he does not have 1 point. He has, it's either 152 or 153 points. It should be 152 because second place would get 1 point. So ties, everyone above him ranks 152 through 1 all have 0 points. They are all tied, they all have 0 points. And they are ranked in terms of historical precedence. So the first person who got 0.983 forever is first. And the second person, or the first person to tie them, is second from there on, and things like that. And that's how that works. So it's very similar to the GoldenEye rankings, if you are familiar with those. They use I believe it's 97 for first, or no, it's first place gets 100, second place gets 97, third place gets 95, and then it decrements from there in singular points. So only 97 people can ever get points for a level. This is infinitely scalable because it's kind of the reverse, where instead of decrementing points, it's incrementing points. And so you can get a person at rank 4,000 whatever, and they'll have 4,000 points for that level. So you can see these rankings quickly increase because it's basically, you can think of this as divide this number by 75, and that is your average rank on a level. So for example, if you are under 75, you on average have world record on a majority of the levels, and on average, you have more world records than you have second places and stuff like that. So it is like a pretty stark increase as you go up and up and up. You'll be getting 50 or 100 points times 75 levels. That quickly gets to be a pretty big number. And so this, I believe, tracks the top 1,000 people on this page. But technically, if you break into the 1,000 ranks, you will, because all the replays are tracked, is that you'll just be put on this page. I'm not sure why these have different lengths on the columns. I assume that's because some people are tied somewhere or something. Not sure. Anyway, and so that is how the overall rankings work. You will note that these same sorting options are on this page. So if I want to sort what the best score player is for Dustman only, I can do that. And that will bring up an entirely different page of rankings. And those are also all sorted for the top 1,000. And I can do that for all 4 characters. I can do that for the other meme categories even. I can do that for 2 and 3 players and things like that. So there is also, I believe, a King Janitor ranking. And King Janitor can be thought of as these 4 individual character rankings combined, summed up together. is I believe. So it basically rewards you for not only having the world record on Dustman, but also the world record on Dustgirl, and on Dustkid, and on Dustworth. That is how that works. So, I should have pulled this up now that I'm thinking about it, but I didn't. Is that in the history of Dustforce, if this is the King Janitor rankings now, you can see even here Fishy's at a pretty insanely respectable 646 in terms of any percent, which is kind of crazy, and people go up a lot faster on these in terms of points because there's basically 4 times the number of points involved here, I believe, roughly. It's a little bit different because of the tutorials of Dustman only, but anyways. If we just go to the general all rankings here and the normal overall rankings, DGA Luffy here, who's currently 5th, he's kind of been inactive for a couple years now. At one point before the Dustforce DX update came out, there was only 57 levels, and at one point he got 0 points. He was kind of the first person ever to do that, and it was kind of a pretty historic thing. It's on the subreddit somewhere, so you can probably look up the threads around it because people screenshotted it and stuff. And it was funny because using the old rankings, which were on dustworth.com, it broke the site for a little while when he first got it, because it basically, when he was at 0 points, I think he didn't show up on the rankings at all, and so the person who was in second place actually showed up as being first, which is kind of funny. But it got fixed pretty soon after that. And so first he just got the time rankings at 0, and then while he had the time rankings at 0, he maintained his time rankings at 0, got score to be ranked 0, and thus, in the history of Dustforce, there was one singular time where DGA Luffy had the overall 0 points. And it was a pretty cool historic moment. And then 3 days later, after that happened, Dustforce DX came out and added a bunch of levels. And since then, nobody's done that, and I don't believe anybody has even come really close. Another fun fact was Ite, who's... Let me see if I can find him here. 7 Ite, he's 19th on score. He was, I believe, the last remaining world record that Luffy had. And note that basically that means that Luffy had every world record or tied every world record. So a couple of them were ties. He didn't just have an untied world record on every single level. But he did for a vast majority of them because most of the levels aren't in ties. Only, I would say, maybe 5 or 10% of the levels are ties. And more so any percent just due to the nature of things. Generally, more of the any percent levels are cycle locked or something, which is usually how ties come about. So, that is the Dustkid rankings explained and everything else. So, on the Dustkid site, if you go to profiles here, if you're logged in, if you submit a replay, there'll be a little area up in here where it says to like log in or recognize that as you from that IP address, I believe. And then your profile will show up in a section over here. For the community map packs, those also have their own rankings and records pages. We have some bingo things. You have a page that will show you the recent world records. I don't remember how far this goes back. It looks like about a month or so in terms of what are the most recent records that happened, both for score and time, or maybe the past like 100 or something that happened. One thing I forgot to mention, I'll go back to the rankings here. The numbers in green and red are, I believe, your overall change in ranking points per the past 7 days or something, I believe. And so generally, you know, if Fishy is getting a new world record on a level that he previously didn't have the world record for, then the people who were previously above him will then increase in points. And so they will go down, or they will increase in points, but go down the rankings slightly. And so if you're not playing actively, you will basically slowly gain points and slowly fall down these rankings or whatever. So we can see down here I'm like 54 now. At one point in the past I was a top 10 player, but I've been inactive for a couple years now, aside from working on some Talisted stuff intermittently. So we have some more setup instructions, we have full game runs, we have some achievements that are tracked. You have some random level stuff. You can search replays, so this is useful if you want to specifically search for a very specific thing. This is mostly used for tool-assisted run stuff. You have the week in review, which is kind of similar to the recent world records, but this tracks kind of some of the more notable runs that have happened in the past week. This will take a while to load. We have the replay composer, which is used to make tool-assisted runs. Dustforce TV, this will basically load up some of these newly updated replays to just play in your game live, and it will prioritize like the more notable ones over the lower ranked ones, but it does also prioritize newer at the same time. And it's basically like, it's almost like a screensaver that you can leave on. We have tracks for some of the deleted replays here. We have dust mod levels. So the Dustforce daily is kind of the last thing to add in here. Is there's a lot of custom maps on the custom map atlas, and over here in dust mod, if you go up above the multiplayer nexus, in here we have the community nexus, and then this is the door you'll come out of over here. And we walk over, we have the Dustkid daily, and so this is basically a semi-randomly chosen custom map that changes based on the day. And then the leaderboards are tracked for that specific day. So this is some random custom map that I don't know. I haven't played it before. I have no idea what one was actually the daily today. Not doing too hot because I haven't played in like a year. And we can go do this. Oops, missed 2 heavy attacks there. Pretty bad of me, to be honest. Probably didn't need to heavy there. We can go finish this. It's taking a bit longer than I thought it would. Oops, missed the ledge cancel there. Almost dropped my combo. Yikes, that was very slow. I have no idea how long this level is or when it ends, but it seems to be quite long. That's funny. Of course it had to be long. Okay, there's the end. So, this is a random daily level or whatever that people will compete on, and it's just kind of a way to get fresh competition going on certain things or whatever. So you can see these are people that have only played it today. I believe it resets pretty close to early in like the morning around this time. So not very many people will have played it at this point. And then this will track the best score and time for the duration of that. This is the daily, and then basically these replays will then be rolled over onto the main level itself. And so this is kind of just a way that if you made a map and it came out 2 years ago or whatever and nobody's really improving it, this is a way to just kind of get people to look at it with fresh eyes again, get some new competition space on it for people who want a fresh competition whatever area or whatever than just the base 75 levels in the game that we've all kind of played to death at this point. And yeah, maybe get some new people to try and reroute your level and find better strats for it and things like that. But it's very good for improving your strat and routing abilities and things like that. And so that's another cool feature of Dustkid, and the daily is also tracked on dustkid.com. So that's pretty much the end of the video here. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will probably respond and answer all of them. I might have to make a follow-up video. Did this just kind of off the cuff. It was probably very sloppy, but it's all good. I've been meaning to make this for a while, so I figured I would just kind of bite the bullet and do it. So thank you for watching. See ya.